this is Mike Figueredo on Jimmy Dore as a guest, believe it or not. And let's just listen to what he says.
There's a unity tour happening.
This video
right now. Bernie Sanders
ties into obsession is because they were all fine with him before. He speaks the same, he uses the same rhetoric, he goes after politicians the same way as when they were on the show, and you're about to see it. He's going to go after Bernie Sanders in front of Mike. And see how this goes. The title of the video is Will Progressives Ever Vote for Democrats Again? With Mike Figueredo. You believe that? That's the title of the video. Let's listen.
Is going around with Tom Perez, and it is one of the most disgusting displays of bullshit that I've seen in quite a while. And I really don't know what Bernie Sanders thinks he's trying to pull. It's that same kind of stuff he was doing when he was stumping for Hillary. It's like, and you know, he couldn't get 5 people to show up at a gymnasium to listen to him tell bullshit about Hillary Clinton. And now here he is going around saying bullshit about the Democratic Party.
Are you listening to how he's speaking? Mike doesn't seem to have a problem with that. Why didn't they have a problem with that then?
There's going to be some unity happening. I'm going to tell Bernie Sanders right now, and anybody else who thinks that progressives like me are going to unify with Tom Perez and his bullshit warmed over corporatist agenda, which just got the Democratic Party.
So let me just say, this could quite possibly be the reason could quite possibly be because this is before is this before? Let me look at the year. Is this before Jimmy really said, I'm completely never going back to the Democratic Party? Yes, because this is like 5 years ago. So we're talking around the time where everybody kind of coalesced. So we're talking about the Bernie coalition that is now completely fractured and sort of warring. This is when we were all together, and that's when this video was made. But if you listen to how he's speaking, about their beloved, even Bernie Sanders, the most hero worshipped politician, maybe second to Donald Trump.
Party wiped out from coast to coast. That's not happening. I'm not going to support a corporatist Democrat because Bernie Sanders stands next to him. In fact, Bernie Sanders told us a year ago that we shouldn't listen to him. That's what Bernie Sanders said. So how do you feel about this unity tour with the Democrats?
Yeah, if Bernie Sanders does something, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt more so than other politicians, but there's absolutely no way I can rationalize this because Bernie Sanders has repeatedly lambasted Democrats. He said they need to reform X, they need to reform Y, Z, but he's decided to imply that we should unify behind the Democratic Party before they've done anything to reform. And in fact, they just gave us the middle finger. They voted down a ban on lobbyist contributions the same day that Tom Perez became the new DNC chair. So
my question is, what happened to Mike? What happened to this Mike?
They've done nothing to show to us that they are willing to embrace progressive reforms. And we see a couple of articles in Politico and The Hill about how, Dems are embracing Bernie now. That sounds great. Let's see it. I want to actually see some action. I don't want to hear about how they're embracing Bernie Sanders, because here's how it looks to me. They continue to trot out progressives like Keith Ellison, who, progressives already have some problems with him, but he's better than Tom Perez. We'll put it that way. They trot out Keith Ellison. They drag Bernie Sanders along and they say, hey, we're like this guy. Meanwhile, they haven't changed a single thing. So I don't get what the goal of Bernie Sanders' unity tour is. It seems like a complete contradiction given all of the criticism that he's talked about with respect to the Democratic Party. So I'm not with Bernie on this issue. And I think that's fine, because the difference between us and Hillary Clinton supporters is that we don't just blindly, follow someone and support them because of a cult of personality. We actually are able to disagree with them if they do something that doesn't make sense. Bernie, this makes no sense. And I know that, I took a little bit of heat for talking about this, but it makes no sense to me. I'm not unifying behind the Democratic Party until I see that they changed, and they've if anything, they've given us, the cold shoulder and have communicated to us that they're not going to change a single thing. So there's going to be no unity. It makes no sense to me, Jimmy.
Well, there's actually a unity commission right now. You heard about that unity commission, right? There's a unity commission, and what do you think about the? I don't think much of it. I'm going to look more into it, but it just. Well, I don't understand what that is about. Like, it's like the Democrats still don't know who they are. You still don't know what you're supposed to be for. What do you mean? What do you want to unify? I don't understand what that point of a unity commission is.
Well, I'll tell you what it's about, Jimmy. They are patting progressives on the head. They're saying, we're listening to you. It's okay. You get a seat at the table. But what they don't tell you, and what's downplayed in the articles about the Unity Commission, is that this Unity Commission, will it be hearing about, reforming the Democratic Party when it comes to superdelegates and closed primaries? Yeah, that's technically true, but they're not giving progressives an equal seat at the table. So I don't know if you know about the voting in the...
My question for everybody who believes in this social justice Democrat strategy, what progress have you gotten since this video, Mike? Participating in this squad bullshit. Now, obviously, you were a little more radical here and on the Jimmy Dore show 5-6 years ago than you are now. Thought that was a question.
In the Unity Commission, but there's about 8 people, I believe. I could be wrong, could be 7 on the Bernie Sanders side. So Bernie Sanders appointed 7 or 8 people. Hillary Clinton chose 9 people. Tom Perez chose 3 people. So any reform that they want to implement, that progressives want to implement, they could vote it down like that. So they're giving us a seat at the table, but they're not going to implement our changes. And so I find it insulting.
I find it more. I do too. I find it not only insulting, I find it insulting on several levels, because they're the ones who wag their finger at us saying that we have to grow up and we don't understand how the world works. Yet here they are, completely wiped out as a party. Again, I'll keep saying it, from coast to coast, from state house to state house, from the House to the Senate to the White House. They are completely wiped out, and they are willing to change nothing. And so it's insulting at an intelligence level. It's insulting to me as a progressive, because you're lying to us by saying you care about us. It's insulting. It's ridiculous. And then again, we still get my finger. I'm still called a petulant child because I'm holding the Democrats' feet to the fire. And people are like, hey, the election's over. It's time to unite. And I'm like, no, you guys want to unite around the same shit that got you wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you see? So I guess let me ask you a question instead of just make a stupid statement like that. Let me ask you a question. Where do you see? What do you think Bernie's doing this for?
I don't think that Bernie Sanders has any malicious intentions. So I honestly don't know. But here's what I think it is. I think that he believes that this will somehow make the Democratic Party grassroots. So if you hold Tom Perez's hand and you drag him along to all these red states and show him what to talk about, maybe that will change. But the problem with that, and look, this is a straw man of what I think Bernie Sanders is doing. But if that is in fact Bernie Sanders' strategy, then the problem is you cannot become grassroots if you're still taking corporate money. That's a non-starter. So what Bernie Sanders should have said is, look, if you want my assistance, which you should be...
Mike said that's a non-starter 5-6 years ago. I'm sure he knows that they're taking money from billionaires by way of the Working Families Party. I'm sure he knows that. The Working Families Party gets the donation from the billionaire, then the Working Families Party donates to those candidates. We just did a stream on this.
Begging me to do, because I'm the most popular politician in the country. Then here's what you got to do. First of all, you got to stop taking large donations from multinational corporations, and they're raking in a lot of money because they know that the general electorate is already tired of Donald Trump. So there's talk that maybe Donald Trump will lose in 2020. So I don't know what Bernie Sanders' goal is here. But it doesn't look like it's a strategy that will be conducive to any type of reform whatsoever. And if anything, I think that it's going to kind of damage the reputation of Bernie Sanders, by...
I can't believe this is Mike. Like, this is what we would be saying about this commission. This is Mike Figueredo. I'm sorry. This is Mike from the Humanist report. It doesn't sound like the same person at all. Let's listen to some more.
By aligning with someone as egregious as Tom Perez, who, by the way, helped smear Bernie Sanders.
I know.
Right? Thank you. Nobody is mentioning this, but one, he said that the primary is rigged. Then he changed his position. And then, if you go back and read the emails, he said, "Well, you know what? Bernie Sanders may have won this state, but here's what's going to happen. Since Bernie Sanders, and I'm paraphrasing, since Bernie Sanders is getting all this millennial support, we're going to say he's only getting white male millennial support. He's only successful among white males, and they're the devil. So if Bernie Sanders, is only getting that type of support, then we're going to change this. We're going to make it seem as though he's racially insensitive. We're going to plant that seed, and of course, we saw what that turned into." Tom Perez manufactured that narrative. So I find it insulting. Bernie Sanders, to me, it pissed me off. And my whole argument was that Bernie Sanders has got to stop being so nice. They've shown time and again they want nothing to do with Bernie. So now it's time to show them some tough love. Tell them to fuck off if they're not going to.
I can't believe he's saying this stuff. I can't believe Mike is saying this stuff. Tell them to fuck off. What happened to Mike? Where did this Mike go? And the thing is, we barely through, not even halfway through the video. Are we even a quarter? We're not going to watch that much, but I'm just saying, like, throughout this entire video, he's talking like this. But if you go online, I'm sorry, if you go on Twitter, he's using a video that Sabby did, he's using a video that Jimmy used. So I'm sorry, let me say this again. Sabby did a stream where she talked about the issue with Nina Turner and Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore uses a clip from Sabby's stream and he's playing it. And Jimmy Dore is watching it and playing it. Mike uses this clip as some sort of proof. Look who they're aligned with. They're aligned with the Tucker Carlson loving Jimmy Dore. Of course, he has to insert Tucker Carlson along with Jimmy Dore. But what happened here? You're on the show speaking in this way, and now you're here. It's telling me that they are here to shield any non-establishment sort of incoming fire from leftists. They're to shield the Democratic Party and or play captain, save a politician for progressive Democrats against people like us, like Jimmy, like me, like Convo Couch, and all of the other non-establishment people that are refusing to participate in the duopoly. Let's continue with Mike.
Kind of damaged the reputation of Bernie Sanders, by aligning with someone as egregious as Tom Perez, who, by the way, helped smear Bernie Sanders.
I know.
Right. Thank you. Nobody is mentioning this, but one, he said that the primary is rigged. Then he changed his position. And then, if you go back and read the emails, he said, "Well, you know what? Bernie Sanders may have won this state, but here's what's going to happen. Since Bernie Sanders, and I'm paraphrasing, since Bernie Sanders is getting all this millennial support, we're going to say he's only getting white male millennial support. He's only successful among white males, and they're the devil. So if Bernie Sanders, is only getting that type of support, then we're going to change this. We're going to make it seem as though he's racially insensitive. We're going to plant that seed, and of course, we saw what that turned into." Tom Perez manufactured that narrative. So I find it insulting. Bernie Sanders, to me, it pissed me off. And my whole argument was that Bernie Sanders has got to stop being so nice. They've shown time and again they want nothing to do with Bernie. So now it's time to show them some tough love. Tell them to fuck off if they're not going to implement Bernie Sanders reforms, because Bernie Sanders is wasting his breath in trying to go on these tours with Tom Perez if they haven't changed a thing.
Well, they haven't changed a thing. I mean, that's that they still have super delegates. They voted to take corporate money, and Bernie Sanders is doing the exact thing.
And they just doubled down on dark money and refused to remove it from their primaries. And I think we can stop this here. I'm telling you, this is a great watch. Go look for this video because you will be very surprised in some of the things that he says here.